And welcome back. Continuing our conversation now with former Free State MEC Mxolisi Dukwana about allegations of bribery and also giving us a little more detail of what went on regarding relationships with the Gupta family during his tenure as MEC in that province. Mr. Dukwana, just continuing from where we left off. Now, I just want to fast forward to the point where you now encountered the Guptas on a separate occasion where a document was presented to you that you were expected to sign off on. So if we can just start at the point where you are making that trip from the Free State to Gauteng, were you told why you were going on this trip and what was likely to transpire while you were in Gauteng?
No, I was informed that we were going to a fundraising event that the then chairperson of the ANC, Comrade Ace, had arranged, and that I needed to address as the treasurer of the ANC, and that was going to be held in Sandton. And because it was not the first time that we had such, there was nothing untoward, and I agreed, and he made all the arrangements, traveling arrangements, and we ended up traveling.
So once you get to Johannesburg, what happened then?
We were shuttled to a compound that I realized, because I've not been there before, but I recognized the place because it was on the news about the landing of the helicopter at the Zoo Lake by the brothers, and then there was a story about the building that the residents were not happy. So the story was trending at the time, and the house was the pictures of the house were shown. So immediately I got into the place. I recognized and I remembered that this could be the compound. And upon arriving, we were welcomed by Tony, and then my phone was taken, and I was ushered into a room, and then the others, Comrade Ace and Tony, left, and I thought there was nothing about this that was surprising to me, because I was not part of the meeting. I thought that they were going to deal with their own issues and they needed that space. But unfortunately, they emerged, and a group of people and who came, and in the group of people that emerged from wherever they were, it was Comrade Ace that I recognized, Duduzane, Zuma, as well as Tony and other people who came. And we sat in a meeting, and then I realized that I'm now in a situation that I did not prepare for.
And just if we can just fast forward, so you now presented with a document that you're expected to sign off on regarding a certain deal. If you could just very briefly explain to us what the contents of that document was and what exactly you were expected to sign off against.
The letter that was presented to me was written on the letterheads of the office, my office at the time as an MEC, and it was purported to be written by me, appointing a company and giving the company the authority to do the master plan, to do everything that is related to the project that we were to undertake.
So you have indicated that you had refused to sign that letter. What was the reaction to your refusal?
The first thing that I did was to advise them that as an executive authority, I do not have the powers to do that. That can only be done by the HOD, and that the letterhead of the office of the MEC cannot be used in appointing contracts of this nature. And immediately, in fact, there was an attempt to indicate, to try and convince me to sign, because it was said, you just need to sign this thing and then we will ratify it, and the Premier will make sure that the Council ratifies that. But I insisted that it will be wrong to do that, and it was then there when I was told that I will be given 2 million upon signing immediately, and then 2 million every month for the duration of the contract.
What was the duration of the contract going to be?
Remember, we are talking about a project that was going to be a long-term project. You're talking about a techno park that we wanted to build, and it could have taken anything from 5 years to 10 years, even beyond that time, depending on what was going to be in the development.
So you could have been a very wealthy man at 2 million rand every month for about 5 years at least. But then, of course, things didn't pan out as expected. But what happened subsequent to that? I mean, when you finally left the Gupta compound, what was the discussion between yourself and your principal, Mr. Magashule?
In fact, before we left, when I insisted on the HOD, I was then advised that I should actually get a new HOD. I could fire this other one, and it was very interesting how it was put, and because the powers have not been devolved to us, the then Premier had actually still had the powers to do that. And I was on the third HOD at the time. From 2009 to up until I left office, I had served and worked with almost 4 HODs. And there was no reason for that except that the need to control what was happening in the department and the approach that I had with the HODs. So I would always win the HODs over and deal and work with them. But there will be a reason to be found to get them out. At first it was Kunyedi, then it was, I remember, I think I've forgotten the name of the doctor who ended up being in the municipality, and the reason was that he was not clued with the issues of economic development, but he was more of a local development at the local level.
Mr. Dukwana?
Then there was Mr. Ramayema. Yes.
I was just going to ask, after this particular
Yes.
incident, how much longer did you stay on as MEC for economic development?
I was fired. I think it ended. It took almost about 4 or so months. But there was also something. I was contesting for the chairpersonship of the ANC, and it was obvious that the chairperson will not be comfortable being contested.
So you've indicated that you are willing to bring this evidence before the current commission, the Zondo Commission into state capture. But where to now for you in the interim?
I'll continue. I'm an activist. I'll continue raising all the issues that are happening in our province. The local government issues, what is happening in our local municipalities, and many other things that are happening that actually are causing a lot of problems for our people.
And just a final one before I let you go. The Vrede Dairy Farm project. What did you know about that, or did that happen after you had already left office?
It happened after I had left office, but I was not surprised, to realize that it happened the way it is claimed to have happened. And I could see a pattern of the modus operandi. And remember, the allegation was that it was signed by Comrade Zwane, and also, if you remember, He was also the person who signed for the landing of the plane. So I could see the similarities that you sign something and you end up being where he was. He ended up being a minister. So it was not surprising after the visit that I had at the Gupta compound. So I could see the similarities of the way they operated.
Mr. Mxolisi Dukwana, thanks so much for your time this morning, speaking to us there from Welkom. And of course, he was the former MEC for Economic Development in the Free State. And let me just reiterate, we did extend an invitation, right of reply, to ANC Secretary General Mr. Ace Magashule. We haven't heard back from him yet, but this platform or any other platform on SABC still open to him. So as soon as he's ready to speak to us, we shall afford him right of reply. Well,